Hello everyone, Dave here from Daxon Studios. In my last video I talked about how there are 5 basic shapes in drawing, and if you can draw those 5 shapes, you can draw pretty much anything you want. Today I'm going to expand on that thought and give a few examples on how you can view the world through the eyes of an artist. First of all, I established a light source as indicated by my super realistic sun. Now I'm going to arrange my basic shapes in a group as though we're looking at them sitting on a table. This is something my mentor would do for our lessons. He had all these shapes made of different materials such as wood, plastic, and he would set them up in front of the class and just tell us to draw what we see. I can't count the number of times I had to draw these shapes in different arrangements and lighting situations. It does, however, teach a valuable lesson in drawing. Now that I have my imaginary still life all set up, I'm going to apply my shadows in relationship to the light source. Keeping in mind that light travels in a straight line, radiating in all directions from the source. In this situation, I want to remember that each object is affected not only by the light source and ambient light, but also by the other objects around it. For example, my pyramid is sitting on top of my cube and my cylinder. This will have a huge effect on how the shadows form on these objects. Another factor to consider is what the objects are made of and how reflective their surface is, but we will talk about that in more detail later on. Here I am adding a shadow on my cone shape to indicate the light source being intercepted by the corner of my cube. Just a few final touches on the ambient light and other shadows. Now I am adding in the shadows being cast by the objects onto the surface that they're sitting on. If you want your drawing to reflect reality, you always want your still life to be grounded on something. Whether it's a table, or literally the ground, a pillow, anything, it's not advisable to just have your objects floating in the air. The exception to this, of course, is if you're dealing with objects that are expected to be in the air, like balloons, aircraft, flying birds, falling leaves, and so on. Now I'm going to give a few quick examples of how you can use these shapes to draw pretty much anything in the universe. Here we have a basic mug. It should be pretty clear by now that the shape of the mug is a cylinder. The handle is in fact a cylinder as well, with some modification. Just imagine turning the cylinder on its side, thinning it out quite a bit, and hollowing out the center. Then you just cut it in half and stick it to the side of the mug, and you have a handle. The mug itself is hollow as well. Just imagine carving out the inside of a solid cylinder to create an open space. Another way to look at it is to imagine you're actually drawing two cylinders, one to represent the outside of the mug and one to represent the negative space inside the mug. Now we're going to do something a little more complex. When you look at a car, you can see several shapes working together to form the structure. The body, even though it has curves, is the basic shape of an elongated cube. The canopy can also be another cube, or in some cases, a partial sphere. The wheels, naturally, are cylinder shapes turned sideways. From here, you can cut away at the sharp corners and edges to create the shape of the vehicle. This is, of course, just the base work. Other techniques will be used to produce the final look, such as the shape of the headlights and other identifying features of the design. In fact, when a car is in the design process, it is carved from a cube of clay, not unlike what we're doing here. It's just in 3 dimensions instead of 2. And finally, I'm sure this is the part that you've been waiting for, I'm going to demonstrate how you can create the human form with your 5 basic shapes. The head is essentially a sphere. The face and jawline can be represented by an intersecting cylinder as well as the neck. The torso can either be a cylinder, sphere, or cone, depending on your style and how you want the character to look. Whether the character is male or female, child or an adult, that will also have an effect on this decision as well. The shoulders and arms are a series of spheres and cylinders, and the nose is essentially just a pyramid shape. This will give you your basic structure. You are now free to complete the drawing with other details like facial features, musculature, clothing, and so on. I also highly recommend studying human anatomy. This is something I will address later on as well. With practice, you can learn to skip some of these steps on paper, especially when you're drawing from reference. When drawing from reference, most of the information you need will already be there for you. In this drawing, for example, you can see that I just laid out the important details, such as the size, shape, and placement of the facial features, and then I laid out the rest of the drawing from what I saw in my reference. And that is all for today. As usual, I hope you enjoyed the video, and you have gained some form of benefit from the information given. Be sure to subscribe, check out my comic on Webtoons, and my other art on Ko-fi.com. Links are in the description. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.